This is Prague-Zlicin. Zlicin is on the western outskirts of Prague, within the city limits. And we're facing the classic situation. This is a construction site of apartment housing project, and some burials were suspected here. And LABRYS was called, the anthropologists of LABRYS know us. We worked together before, especially Pavel Kubálek, who picked up the phone and called us to invite us. Because it is a construction site, everybody is wearing helmets. It's really a hot morning. The temperature is already into the high 90s and it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm allowing Nessie to acclimatize, to get used to this area. We've never been here before, although this area seems to be just like the others that we worked last year and the year before. So I'm allowing her to walk around and get acquainted with the scents and the noises. The area I really want her to search is roped off by this plastic ribbon that you see. This is Nessie's first alert. The LABRYS anthropologists usually anticipate where these burials may be. The darker soil usually gives it away. But of course the dog cannot see that. Nessie is proceeding to alert. She offered 8 alerts. 2 of those were questionable. One alert where the people are standing behind her. They were working on something there, and there was a basket. And the basket is used for bones and for artifacts. She did alert on this basket, and I don't know if I can blame her for that or not. She's also alerting right here in that corner. And this is, I suspect, later we went over this situation. It's probably where the scent is collecting. It's a corner situation, and it's probably where the scent got trapped. Six of these spots that she, including this very one that next to the burlap or whatever it is, will be later excavated, and the burials will be there. This is a beautiful alert. She obviously entered the scent area and she alerted. Here we have another area where human bones have been bulldozed. Nessie entered this area and immediately alerted. And you can see on a better close-up, you can see the bone chips right where she's sitting. She's being rewarded. As it turned out, this particular alert is the most important of them all, because there really is a burial underneath there, and this burial was unregistered by the anthropologists at this time. They started digging and they did find a burial, and they also found the first glass bottle ever found at this location at Zlicin. This is the LABRYS office. George Vavra is showing me what they excavated so far. It's a nice assortment of clay pottery and even a gold coin and jewelry. The coin was made somewhere between 402 and 406 AD, when Flavius Honorius was a Roman emperor.
Tady asi dolní končetina, prostě jak to vyhodili ještě ty kusy, které ještě nebyly úplně rozpadlý. Takže tady jedna, tady druhá, že jo.
George Vavra is showing me where the skeletal remains were found. He is also showing me where the ground penetrating radar is showing anomalies. However, he says none of them is an expert in reading these maps, and even the experts who took these maps couldn't really tell exactly what was happening underground. George Vavra is saying that one day when they finish this project, it will be made into a 3D digital model.
Takže teďka by se to mělo vlastně, až se to zdigitalizuje, tak by se měl udělat trojrozměrný model toho, jo, celého. Všech toho obsahu toho hrobu, jo. No, tam je, myslím, taky docela zajímavá archeologie. No.
We came back to this location 2 weeks later because approximately 4 acres have been bulldozed, and you can see the surface is really rough. The bulldozer just scraped off 2 or 3 feet of the topsoil. It's hot again. This is a hasty search. I'm taking the dog back and forth, looking for a head turn or a recognition of any scent. Nessie didn't detect any human scent on the freshly scraped area, so we're moving over to the old side, to the area where we were 2 weeks ago, and everything's being worked on right now. This is a beautiful flashback to where we were 2 weeks ago, where Nessie alerted, and it's now an excavated grave. This is George Vavra again explaining what's happening here. He is explaining that most of these graves have been robbed, and that's why the bones are upset.
Tam je to docela pěkný, no. Tam je taková modelová situace, to je zajímavé.
Yeah.
Jste tu holku vykopali?
Ha?
Vyhrabali jste tu holku?
No jo. A necháme si.
All the suspected burial sites are now excavated, and they do contain human remains. This is Pavel Kubálek working on a grave that's really beautifully. It's showing you beautifully how the graves have been, when they were robbed, how the bones were disturbed. He is showing us where the coffin lid, the casket lid, was placed, and the remains of the casket lid are still there and visible to his eyes. I really can't say I can see it clearly, but he can see it. What he's working on right now is a jaw where his foot is. You can see the mandible just beginning to, yeah, he's working around it right now, just beginning to come up. There were beautiful beads. He's showing me right now where the beads were located.
Tak krásně vidět, jak to je úplně vytažený spod toho víka, ty dutiny.
All the graves are about 1 meter deep, feet and something. I'm sending Nessie to alert on this grave, but I just realized that she was going to jump in, so I held her back a little bit and I just needed to praise her. As you can see, the skeleton remains were almost 1 meter deep, which is a little over 3 feet. Here Nessie alerts on the opposite side of grave number 1557-144. Here is another alert. She's not willing to quit. These are all the anthropologists from LABRYS.
Jsou taky kosti, jo, takže to v úrovni té rakve. Akorát, že to teďka není zahrnulý do roviny a ty funtále, ty tam měla v sobě dutinu, jo. Většinou tady nebývá. No a tam někde tím sáčkem tam je nějaký bros. A prostě tamhle zrovna tam.
Well, the bones from this burial have been removed and shipped to museum lab. This is a nice flashback to where how it looked like before it was excavated. They're back in their office. I told you earlier about the beautiful artifacts that were excavated. These two ceramic vases were next to one another. Just like that. George Vávra is trying to show you the best face. Okay, this is how they were. And this is a glass Roman goblet. It's decorated with a fine thread, glass thread. And it also shows imprint of the pliers when the glass was hot. You can still see how they held it with pliers. This is our last visit to this site. They were wanting to see how the search, how it would be if the dog would come up to an area with a human scent on it. So what George Vávra did, he took some soil from the excavated graves over on the other side. I made many false holes, maybe like 20. I disturbed the soil all over, and I did my foot marks, my scuffle marks there, and we crisscrossed the entire area. This is the same area, by the way, we were searching a couple of weeks ago, but additional almost 2 feet of the soil were removed, and you can see how this surface is smooth compared to how it looked like 2 weeks ago when it was just scraped roughly by the bulldozer. The second scraping, the bulldozer is using a different spoon, a flat spoon, so that it gives you that smooth surface. So I'm making false holes all over the place, and we will see how the dog behaves when she comes up to where the scent was placed.
The time's 10:25.
Yet another tarp that's being used over and over to cover up the holes for the night. So this tarp, I have no doubt in my mind, this tarp smells like skeletal remains. She's checking all the false holes we made. To wrap up this search, I must say that after removing additional 3 feet of soil from this 5-acre area, nothing was found, just as Nessie indicated. Highlight, of course, is burial numbered 1557-144. This may be a first documented dog find of 1500-year-old human remains buried 3.5 feet under surface. Another false hole she's checking. That's the one. That's the positive. What George Vavra used was like maybe a cup of the soil from the graves on the other side. So it was a very, very small amount of soil. And it was just soil only. There were no bone chips of any sort. Good job, Nesty.